Hello everyone. In today's video, we will talk with Rachel, who is live in USA, in Boston, and she is the founder of Dreaming English. So welcome Rachel in our video.
Thank you. So yes, I'm Rochelle and I live near Boston. I actually live in a place that if you could see the letters behind me, it says Leominster. So it's like an hour from Boston. And I have a channel where I teach English called Dreaming English. So thank you so much for inviting me to talk with you today.
Well, so in today's video, we will discuss about language learning process between Bangladesh and USA. So I want to ask you some questions why do we need to learn English?
I mean, I think like when I talk to people that are learning English, the main reason they give me for learning English is that it's like an international language and it gives them more opportunity to get jobs in their own countries or to be able to travel, like if they want to travel to an English-speaking country and study. But even working and living in their own countries, it gives them way more opportunities because it's the language that most of the countries use for banking and they use for government and they use for science and all that. So by learning English, it gives you so many more opportunities and opportunities to speak to people all over the world, like speaking to you there in Bangladesh. Like I wouldn't be able to do that if you weren't able to speak English to me, right? So
this is why English is so important in today's world. So what is the best way to learn a language?
And so my opinion, and I've been trying to learn other languages myself, my opinion is that learning the best way is something called comprehensible input method. And what that means is to learn language by watching with your eyes and listening to things that are very easy to start with, that you can understand, that have like pictures and video, facial expressions. Maybe they're using their hands, like they'll say, okay, I was looking at something, and being able to understand that and watch lots of it and listen to a lot of it. So you develop an ear for the language and really work on doing that before you start speaking. So I'm kind of demonstrating it as I'm speaking to you. I'm kind of doing what I do when I make my videos. I use my hands a lot. I will draw pictures and really speak language slowly and be able to make stuff that's very easy for people to understand. I think that's the way that we learn when we're little, when we're babies, and that's the best way to learn a language if you're learning a new language, as opposed to learning it from a book, right? That's what I think. What would you think?
Some people said that by watching movies, English movies especially, you can learn English. So what is your opinion about that?
I mean, movies might be difficult to start with. Like I'm trying to learn other languages and I start with YouTube videos because they're short, like conversations like you and I are having. But in a movie, there's so much going on that if you might have a hard time understanding, and a movie doesn't have a lot of dialogue. So I think if you're going to start learning, you want to probably watch like television programs or YouTube videos where there is a lot of dialogue. Some movies are a lot of action or a lot of like visual or whatnot, but not a lot of dialogue, if that makes sense.
So it isn't so comfortable for the beginner. So what program, can you suggest some program which will help the learner to learn English quickly?
I mean, I think some people have told me that they've learned a lot from watching programs like Friends. I think The Office, Homer Simpson, those type of programs, because there's a lot of dialogue in them and they're short. They're like maybe like 25 minutes each one. So you can kind of like watch a short amount. I think when you're learning language, you probably want to study or kind of focus on something shorter and then give your mind a chance to process it. So those are programs that I've heard English speakers saying that they like to watch because they're fun and they're easy because they're kind of things that probably happen in all kinds of countries and you can kind of relate to them, I think. So those are the ones that I would kind of recommend watching.
So some people said that TED Talk is very important for the learner. It's boost our listening power as well as speaking. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, TED Talks are great because one is that you're definitely going to have a lot of being able to listen to the language, but they also usually will have visuals, like they'll usually have some sort of presentation, and you can kind of watch. And with that, with watching anything on YouTube, you can usually turn on the subtitles and read along, which will help to kind of like embed that language, that like reading along with it. So if I was watching a TED Talk in another language, I would turn on the subtitles and watch. And another thing that I like about YouTube is you can slow it down. So if the TED Talk, obviously it's not really being made for people learning languages, so it might be a little fast, but you can slow it down by going into the settings and slow that down so it can be at a level that might be able to be more understandable for you.
Well, you have a YouTube channel, Dreaming English. So why did you started YouTubing?
And so the reason I started is that my daughter, now she's 11, but when she was 9, she wanted to be a YouTuber. And I told her if she wanted to do that, we need to do something educational. And so we were actually learning another language at the time. And there was a channel that had a kind of like language videos that were with pictures and the whole hand gestures and all that. And she said, well, Mom, you know, she likes drawing. She said, why don't we make a video like that? And I mean, a YouTube channel like that. So we started this whole idea of this YouTube channel because she wanted to be a YouTuber. And now it's mostly me. My daughter doesn't appear in too many of the videos, but I really loved it. And at first I didn't think I would, because I did not like to see myself in video. I never really thought I would want to do that, but I actually really love doing this. And now I usually put like, I think about 2 videos a week. So I've really gotten into it.
So is your ultimate hobby is YouTubing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be my ultimate hobby. Other hobbies I have would be like swimming. I love camping and traveling, but I think YouTubing has been my new hobby that I spend a good amount of my time doing.
So in the last week you had on vacation. So how was your vacation?
Yeah, so I went camping for 2 weeks at the beach, and it was wonderful. We had a lot of really good weather. We did have some rain, and we had some really super hot days that were almost dangerous to be out in the heat, which was kind of, you know, made it difficult to camp when you're at the beach, right? But for the most part, it was wonderful. It was relaxing. We cooked outside. We had campfires every night. And it was just nice. I actually did some YouTube lives at the beach. I did a YouTube by the campfire, and I did a YouTube live that was by watching the sunset. So that was fun. So I kind of been involved both my hobbies of traveling and camping and YouTubing as well.
Okay. So do you think that YouTube is really helping the new learners?
I mean, I definitely do think so. Like, I've been trying to learn another language for a very long time, since before the internet. And when I was learning in school, it was through books, and that really didn't work well. And if you wanted to learn by listening, I would have to go to the library and get things called, like, not records, but, you know, tapes or CDs. But now you can watch for free on YouTube. You can watch it right on your mobile device, which is very convenient. And you can listen to podcasts and stuff. So it makes it much easier to be able to actually listen, which is the most important thing in learning a language, is to listen to the language, as opposed to back in the day when I was studying in school, it was only books and we were just learning the grammar, and that really didn't work well. I didn't really learn how to speak the language.
Well, so do you have any special experience about Bangladeshi peoples or any incident about Bangladesh?
I don't really. I've been mostly speaking to people in other countries, from India and from Spanish-speaking countries. But you are the first person that I've spoken to from Bangladesh.
Well, okay. So before that, do you hear the name of Bangladesh?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I have... yeah, I'm pretty familiar and read quite.
By how you did hear the name of Bangladesh? By which incident?
Well, there was lots of things that are made, clothing, for example, and there was the very sad story of I think there was a fire in one of the clothing manufacturers places.
Yes.
Yeah.
This incident was happened last year, and generally every year it's happening because there was some garments factory are so risky when the workers are doing their job. Sometimes they accidentally fired burn their body and the
Yeah.
building. Well, so if you want to learn any new language, what will be that language?
And so I have, like I've spoken that I talked about how I've been learning Spanish for like more than 20 years, and I'm actually getting very good at Spanish now. But other than that, I'm trying to learn, I would love to learn Italian and I think like French, like the other languages like Italian and French, and probably like German. But those are my other languages. But I would love to at some point be what you call a polyglot, where I know at least like 3 languages. So I really started just kind of like dabble or learn a little bit of the Italian. And it's really just using Duolingo at this point. So I really can't speak much more than a couple words, but that would be my next one, would be like Italian, and then maybe like German or something.
Oh, you want to learn Italian or German?
Yeah.
So
And the
which
reason,
one will be the, difficult for you?
I think Italian would be easier because it's based on the Latin, which is like the Spanish. It's similar to Latin. And I think German would somewhat be a little bit more easier because the reason I want to learn those languages is that English is made up of Latin-based languages and Germanic languages. So I'm very interested in the way that languages form.
Do you know a little bit about German or Dutch language?
I mean, I do know a short, small amounts, like some of our words in English, like the simpler words in English come from German, like better or girl or boy, or those type of words are coming from the German, and the more complicated words that are the longer words are coming out of the Latin base. So, you know, I can't really speak much German to you right now, but when I go and look at the language and listen to it, I can recognize and see where some of our words from English are coming out of, if you understand that.
I had learned a little bit of German. They said, we said in English that good morning, they said guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen. See how it's a good morning, guten Morgen. So that's where you're getting those words that are coming out of German into English.
Yes, and their numerical words are so difficult and so unique, and the pronunciation are so hard.
Yeah, that's what gets me, is the pronunciation.
Well, so what is your aim for your YouTube channel?
So my aim right now is, it's really a hobby, but I would love to grow it and to you know, get to the point that I have, like, I'm helping people. Like right now I'm about 3,000 subscribers, and I'd love to get to 5,000 or 10,000 subscribers and just really help people and more people all around the world. It's really right now a hobby at this point because I do work full time. I actually work at a high school, and I work helping students with applying for college is what my job.
So are you a teacher?
It's like a teacher kind of, but more of an advisor. I'm working one-on-one with the students with their college applications and their applications for financial aid to help pay for college. And that's what I do full time.
You're full time. So in your vacation, how did you spend your time?
I spent a lot of time swimming in the ocean. Like I vacationed at the ocean, and the ocean where I was at, there's like the campsites are by a river that lead into the ocean. So I either swam in the river, or I swam in the ocean, or I walked along because I love swimming. That's one of my, after YouTubing, I love swimming. I swim every day if I can. And I love like walking by the ocean and just kind of listening to the waves and relaxing that way. So that's how I spent a good amount of my time vacationing, was just swimming and walking.
After YouTubing, your hobby is swimming.
Yes. And some days I swam in the ocean for like 2 hours, and our ocean is very cold, very, very cold. I don't know what it is in Celsius, but in Fahrenheit, it was 59 degrees, which is very cold.
Well, so your country have a great swimmer, Michael Phelps, who have around 15 gold Olympic medal.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yes. So your hobby is YouTubing. So who is your favorite YouTuber?
So my favorite YouTuber is somebody from Mexico. I told you I'm trying to learn Spanish. His name is Lucito. His channel is Lucito Comunico, and he has over like 30 million subscribers, I believe. And he travels all over the world. In fact, I imagine he has been to Bangladesh. He travels to India and China and Russia and all over Africa. And he does a lot of like kind of documentary type of style stuff. So I really like him because I can learn about other countries, but I can also learn Spanish. But when he speaks to people, like say he goes to Bangladesh, he speaks English to them because he can speak perfect English. He worked in America for a while when he was in college. And obviously people in Bangladesh probably don't speak much Spanish. So when he has to speak to somebody on the streets, he'll speak English.
Well, so who is your favorite YouTuber from your country?
Well, my favorite YouTuber wouldn't be like, he's not an official like 100% YouTuber, but his name is Trevor Noah. And he's on this program called The Daily Show, which you might have heard of.
I watch a lot of his program, Trevor Noah Show.
Yes.
A comedy show, and he makes me laugh.
Yes, me too. I can learn about all these political things, but I can also laugh. And he's just so incredibly intelligent, but he can also kind of talk about all of this very, very heavy issues, but also kind of make you laugh. So I really love his program.
Yes. So do you watch the Ellen Show?
The Ellen Show?
Yes.
Occasionally. My other ones that I like to watch is Seth Meyers, which is, I think it's another late night show. He's kind of like Trevor Noah. I don't watch a lot of American YouTubers, but these are kind of like, they have TV shows and then they make segments for YouTube. So that's what I will watch a lot of. Other than that, my favorite YouTubers would be people that are Spanish because I'm trying to learn Spanish. So I can't really tell you like who are my favorite American YouTubers. My daughter watches a lot of YouTubers. She watches like a lot of gamers. One actually YouTuber that I like is his channel is called Vertasium, and he's a physicist, but he wanted to also be a filmmaker, and because of YouTube, he can actually make wonderful videos that teach you about physics in a fun way and make his living doing that. So I like to actually watch him. I'm not super like my mind. I'm like, no, my son is actually the scientist in our family. He's going off to college to be a mechanical engineer. But I do love to learn about physics, even though that wasn't my strength in high school or college.
Well, so do you like movies?
I do like movies. I don't watch a lot of movies, like new movies now, but I do love movies. Like my favorite, most recent movie that I probably watched was called Hidden Figures, which was about these African-American women that were really responsible for getting people to the moon because they did the mathematics. But other movies, I love Star Wars movies. I love the Indiana Jones movies. I love a lot of movies that were from the 80s that were dance movies like Footloose and, things that I grew up with because I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So I love funny movies. Anything that can really make me laugh is what I would like to watch.
Okay, so especially you like comedy movie.
Yeah, like one of my favorite ones is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and John Candy. It's just, they're so incredibly funny. I think they were both Saturday Night Live people. And I love stuff that will really just make me laugh.
So do you like Ryan Atkinson, who is known by Mr. Bean?
Oh yes, I love Mr. Bean. I like his TV show better than the movies. He's just so incredibly talented. I wouldn't suggest it as a good show to learn English because there's not a lot of dialogue in the program, but he is incredibly funny. I love stuff from Britain, like Mighty Python, Faulty Towers, like all the British programming. I'm a big fan of that stuff.
So who is your favorite actor in movie industry?
I would have to say Tom Hanks. He's done so many different things, from very serious things. I think he did the one where it was the Apollo 13, where it was like that when they had that mission, they were supposed to land on the moon, but they had a problem and they barely made it back to Earth. But he's done very funny things. Trying to think, the movie Big, where he wishes to be big. He's an 11-year-old boy and he wishes to be big, and then he becomes a 30-year-old, and it's like a lot. It's really funny, but he's done everything from the super serious one where I think he was a pilot, but his plane crashed and he lived on an island by himself. I can't remember the name of it, but any case, he's done so many different things. I would say Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. So do you watch other movie industries movie except your country movies?
I watched a lot of things from Britain. I've also watched movies from Spain and Mexico because I'm trying to learn Spanish. But besides that, occasionally I've watched like movies from Italy. I think it was The Postman from Italy, things that probably were up for nominations because that's how they came on my radar. But not too many other ones that I've known, like probably a lot of ones that were from Spanish speaking countries, and movies from Britain, I guess.
So did you ever watch the movies from Bollywood industry from India?
Only one I can tell you, and it was based on it was I think it was called Bride and Prejudice, because there's like a famous English novel called Pride and Prejudice, and Bollywood did a version of it, and I think it's called Bride and Prejudice or something like that, and that one was very, very funny, and I did watch that one Bollywood one.
What was the story of this movie?
So it's based on Jane Austen's novel called Pride and Prejudice, but they did a modern version of it, which Britain did a modern version called Bridget Jones' Diary, and I think Bollywood did one called, I believe it's called Bride and Prejudice, and that was kind of why I watched it, because it was based on one of my favorite novels by Jane Austen. But it was more modern because Jane Austen was in the 1800s, but they were kind of making it a modern story.
Well, so what will be your suggestion for the language learner who want to learn English?
And I think like basically focusing on listening and like watching YouTube. I like watching the YouTube because it's short. You can kind of like watch a 5 or a 10-minute video or even shorter than that. But listening every time, like immersing yourself in the language. Like if you're there in Bangladesh, you probably don't have a lot of English speaking speakers around you, but you can listen on YouTube. You can listen to podcasts. Well, if I want to learn Spanish, I have people that are all around me that I can speak Spanish to. While people in other countries can't really immerse themselves in English that way, but they can immerse themselves in English by listening to podcasts, by watching YouTube videos, by changing their phone into English when they get to that point, and really like watching your news in English, everything English. Like if you want to learn the language, really listen, and develop that ear for the language. And really, it's not a matter of like 10 hours or 100 hours, but it's a matter of like getting up to 1,000 hours of listening where you really develop that ear for the language.
Listening is most important things of a learning language.
Yes.
Well, so there are thousands of teachers in YouTube. They are trying to teach English. So who is your favorite YouTuber?
So for learning language, I'm not 100% sure I'm all the ones that are teaching English, but I think it's called Bob the Canadian. He's very popular and he's funny. I would say that would be a good one to watch. Other than that, I really kind of like get my ideas from watching people that are learning Spanish, and then I kind of apply that and do something and teach people English. But I don't know all the ones. But I'll tell you another one that I would say for learning English would be learning American English with that guy. I think I have a link on my channel. He's in Maine, and he's an English teacher. So if you want to learn the grammar, it's a good idea. Like if you're taking those IELTS tests, if you want to study in another country, you need to pass that IELTS test, which I don't teach grammar. If you want to learn grammar, I would say learn English with that guy or this American guy. I can put a link to that. But I would say Bob the Canadian, he's really funny.
Well, speak fluently in English. Is grammar is really important?
I don't think so, because I think when you try to learn grammar, like you can learn all those rules and memorize them, but when I'm speaking to you, I'm not thinking about the grammar. I'm not thinking about the verbs. I'm just speaking it. Just like if you speak your native language, you're not thinking about all the grammar. And so that's why listening to it, you're going to have an ear where you'll know how you're supposed to speak it. You won't have to think about the rules of where to put that verb and whether you have a dangling participle. So that's why I kind of think the grammar is not important. However, if you are studying for one of these exams to travel or to study in another country, you do need to have the grammar, because you need to have that for taking those tests, if that makes sense.
So what are the other platforms except YouTube for language learning?
I mean, I like Duolingo. It was developed by somebody from Guatemala, and it's really will kind of like teach you both the pronunciation. It'll teach you some grammar, but it more teaches you the grammar by just seeing everything, reading it and listening to it and that kind of thing. So it has like different ways to teach. Other ways to learn English. I mean, there's lots of different platforms, but I think like the one that I use would be Duolingo. And it's free. There's a paid version, but I think the free version is just fine. And then Hello Talk. Hello Talk is a great way to find language partners. And there's a free version. I think it's just fine. You don't really need the paid version. So you can find some language partners on Hello Talk. And usually people will post different language learning tips, if that makes sense.
What is about Cambly?
Cambly, I don't know a lot about Cambly. I see a lot of people from India using it and other countries. I think it's like, there is a program called italki that I've used. I think it's similar because when I learned Spanish, you can find tutors all over the world. And I think Cambly must be a similar program. I don't know a lot about it, but I have used italki and I have found language professors all over the world that you can connect with and take lessons with. And I'm guessing that Cambly is a similar type of product or similar type of platform.
Well, so I seen that you have talked a lot of people from South Asia and Asia. So do you understand their accent and pronunciation?
I do for the most part. And it started with one person from India asking me to be on his YouTube channel, and then another asked me from there. So I have a lot of people that I've spoken to from India, just because I think that is where 3.3 billion people live. So that's where I'm going to get more people asking to talk to me. And I do understand there's been a couple people that it was difficult to understand, but for the most part, I understand people. I think, I take the effort to listen. I think everyone that has asked to speak with me is at that intermediate level where I can understand them, if that makes sense.
Well, so what is the most important, accent or pronunciation?
I think the pronunciation, because I'll tell you, unless you have moved to the United States or to Britain or to Australia before the age of 10, you're going to have an accent. Like if you were to move here at 16 years old, you're going to have an accent. You could be here for 20 years and you'll still have an accent. I know people that are from Russia, that are from Colombia. If they have come here before 10, you would not know that they're from another country. But if they came here after 10, they generally will have an accent, and that's fine. I think the pronunciation, because basically as long as I can understand you, that's what's important. And quite frankly, in America, we like accents. I love listening to somebody from Italy or somebody from Russia or somebody from different countries. So I think trying to get rid of the accent, while it's possible, it's very, very difficult. And you probably have to work with like a language, like a speech language coach to really get rid, like Trevor Noah, like for instance, he probably works with somebody that teaches him how to like imitate people and really get that accent. Actors do that, right? So in order to have somebody like I think Gwyneth Paltrow, she's from America, but she's played a British person very convincingly. But I'm sure that she works with a coach to be able to speak with a British accent. So I think it is possible to be able to speak in a language without having the accent, but you probably need to work with a coach to be able to get to that level.
So there are many states in USA. So are all the people are talking in the same accent?
So yeah, people are talking in all kinds of accents, and I can usually tell, like, I'm like, oh, my children's father's from Russia. So I can usually say, oh, those people over there are from Russia. Or I can tell when somebody's from Italian, like it's people from Italy, they often have on the ends of all their words like an E sound. So they'll say, I'm a talkie they'll add an E to the end of words. So you can kind of tell people from Italy because of the fact that they'll add a vowel at the end of their words. And you can kind of tell somebody from Germany and so on because their natural accent of German will come through when they speak English, if that makes sense.
Well, so we have a great conversation. So if you want to say something to my audience.
Yeah, so I mean, if you are looking for learning language in a natural way with with very easy to understand videos and a lot of conversation videos as well. Definitely check out Dreaming English. We make videos and post them every week, and we post things where we draw pictures and really try to make things easy using a program called Comprehensible Input Method.
Well, so thank you for giving us the time, and best of luck for your YouTubing and your next fan of life. And thank you for joining with me.
Okay, thank you.